Good evening, everyone. I'm Bethany Cromer, and you're listening to this week's Elemental Evolution Show. Hello to everyone in the chat room. I have with me Sherry Wisdom and Michael Monk today. Michael Monk is from the Avatar Energy Master School, and we also have Tisha with us today. Hello, guys. How are you doing?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Good.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
I'm so excited. Hi, Tisha.
Hi. I haven't talked to you all week. I missed you.
Oh, I missed you too. It's been a crazy, busy, fun week.
Right?
I've been so excited about this show, and I can hardly stand myself.
I know. I'm so glad to actually that Michael's on here. That's awesome. How you doing, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like I think that when I found out when you finally said yes that you had come on, I was so excited because it's like it's been a while since you and I just sat and talked about everything, and we have a lot of similar views, but there's a lot of differences, and it's all kind of comes together, and so I'm really excited to get that out there, and thank you for showing up tonight. That was awesome.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. This will be good.
Right, so I guess that the first kind of where I thought it would be a good idea to start with is one of the things that I've been really trying to get people to maybe have a better understanding of is like when people I think that when people think of energy, they start thinking of something other than what it is, right? Like they even give an image of an outlet or something. It's like they don't really grasp what it is that the body and how it works and how the energy is manifesting and how you can manipulate it and all those kind of things. And so, and maybe I'm, it just seems like when you start talking to people about it that they can, if you, showing them the way that you do, it gives them a deeper understanding, but a lot of them still will give you the deer in the headlights look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to come up with ways that, describe it better. I even thought about, doing, a cartoon thing, where you have the atom showing up, and that's, because the energy, I guess I'm breaking it down in, the simplest form, how the atom works and how it's projecting out and how you can control that and all those different things and how it's the same as everything else. And I know that you and I in the past, we've had conversations about, when you would just kind of, be sitting there and feel like all of a sudden you're, meshed into whatever you're sitting in, the couch or the chair or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because the atoms are the same, right? It's connecting into that source of all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I just kind of if you're up for it, I'd like you to kind of explain some stuff, kind of how that came about for you. How did you get started in energy? That because a lot of people don't know that. Even though I know you've said that, you've told a lot of people, but there's still people out there who don't really know, and they think, oh, well, I could never do that, or whatever. So maybe if they see, that there's somebody out there that has achieved something that, wasn't, I guess it's not like Moses came down and had a conversation with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, and even in people where they receive activations like that, it's just a temporary thing. It's like a greater part of the one soul that we all share can come in and give you an experience, but it doesn't become yours until you find the gateway of how to go there yourself. So even though a lot of us are gifted with powerful experiences that help wake us up, we do not become awakened beings until we find the gateway ourselves within our own mind and our own ability to go there. So I did have quite a few extreme experiences that showed me, that more was possible, but these doors didn't open for me on a permanent basis until I figured out how to open them. So, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I get so excited because I do think that's a huge hit, right? like, and maybe you know this too, it's like everybody's searching, right? But it's like, if they just like can turn around, right? Like, look at what's really going on. Look at what we're creating. Look at what our actual, what is it? What's our purpose here? What are we doing? What is the body for? What is it? You know, like, not just looking at it as being in survival mode 24/7.
Right.
It's like, if you can actually take a look at all that and kind of come to, I guess, and I think I've come to kind of the same space. I know you and I use different terminology, but it's like really realizing that it's in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a spot deep in everybody's core, and people have given it different names, like source, or, you know, I call it the God spark, or the God within, or the kingdom of heaven within, whatever you want to call it. It's the source of all of your external experience, and it literally shines out of you. And this light, or this energy, is actually of a greater density than the whole physical reality, which is why it's not measurable by any machines, because the machines are also vibrating on the physical reality spectrum, and it's also not noticeable by your consciousness until it learns to shift past the physical reality spectrum. What I'm always explaining to people is what the physical reality is, and it's this. It's a fixed vibrational range of interpretation. That's it. And it's based on the five senses. You got eyesight. That's the rainbow spectrum of light. Anything that appears within that spectrum, we call light. Anything that doesn't, we don't call light. Sound, you know, is 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Anything in that range that vibrates, our senses pick up as sound. Anything above or below that range, we say is not sound. Well, taste has a range, touch has a range, and smell has a range. And the brain is automatically geared to interpret these ranges of vibrations to, you know, the core mind, you know, which isn't your brain, it's your, you know, your soul presence inside. So when we incarnate into a body, our soul, which is infinite consciousness and energy, fuses completely with the body structure, with the neuron structure in the brain and the nerve fiber structure in the body, so that it will only know the five senses. It won't know anything else. Until it begins to, you know, have out-of-body experiences or begin to study energy, which is a whole practice of tuning your mind and finding out the difference between your mind and your brain. So the brain is really just like, it's sort of like a crystal. It's just like a preset pattern.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I get, well, and this is where, like, so I love that you're, so it's like, this is so, like, I think that this is all part of, like, what I've been trying to accomplish, I guess. And I think that you've known this, you know, for a long time from me, but it's like I've been trying to figure out, like, how to generate from the body to where people can stop creating out of the places that they have held from wounding or from places where they've had trauma and all these things. And not because I'm, like, trying to, like, I'm not in a savior place. Like, I'm not out there trying to save the world, holy schmoly, all that stuff. It's more like I just want the collective to be able to heal, right? Like, I want things, because it's screwing everything up. And it's like it's time to have everybody kind of come to a place of where they can recognize, and this is where, like, I think, like, with your school, when I did, like, the exercises that you give to people, it really does, like, I always have said, it's practice, practice, practice. Everybody can do it, but if you don't ever come to the consciousness of it and practice it, you won't ever even know, right? Like, it's like you won't get there. But I think you've given people, and you still give people, a lot of ways to learn how to do it if they want to, right? And that's, but I think it has to come into that consciousness, like, for the first time. Like, something has to actually happen for each person in a different way, or however it is, before it actually hits them, like, okay, yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
And that's,
we offer, you know, a series of practices that can be done by anybody that are, you know, very simple. We have like 7 primary lessons in the Awakening course, and everybody's going to have success with at least one of the lessons, which is going to open their doorways to have success with the other ones. You know, it's all about reprogramming the ego consciousness into believing in things. we're sort of flipped right now in our thinking. We are reacting to events, so we view it like. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that is really, that's something that it's like, I've been trying to explain, and I know that you will understand this because, like I was saying today, I actually was telling somebody, you and I had a discussion, and this was a couple years ago, but it was about the judicial system, and how you said to me, we were kind of laughing, and I was still in that mode of like I was gonna save the planet, right? Like I was in the hero, whatever, ego, whatever you want to call it, and you said something to the effect of, well, you realize that you're creating criminals, right? Yeah. And I went, oh, shit. Like, I realized, and then I took it like that opened me up to a place of really taking a look at, it's like, and I hope I'm not like jumping all over the place, but this is like, I want people to really understand that when they're putting their energy into something, it doesn't matter if they're saving it or if they're hating it or if they're loving it or whatever it is, if they're putting their energy, if they're putting their manifestation into it, they're helping it, they're feeding it, they're creating it.
You woke me up as far as that was concerned, Sherry, when you actually kind of gave me a visual. I'm not sure the exact words that you used, but it was, I basically saw it as you said you're creating your thoughts, right? So like a ping pong paddle, the one where you push it out and then, you hit the ball out and the ball comes back to you and you react again. But really, it started with you throwing the thought out there, and that's kind of how I imagine it. But I didn't see it anything like that before, and I've tried healings and stuff like that. But until you literally told me that you are literally creating your thoughts, it was kind of like a light went on, like, oh my gosh.
And I think that's where like a lot of people just don't know, right? Like they think that they're, and this isn't a slam, like people think that they're out there really helping causes and they're out there spreading the word and really like making people knowledgeable about all the yucky stuff that's happening. And there's like this side of me that wants to be like, yeah, go for it. You're out there, you're helping humanity, you're doing this, you're doing that. But the truth
That's exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, but the truth is that we're not, right?
I was inviting it in, definitely. I had more attacks on my energy and targeted frequency and all this other junk until you told me that. Then I stopped it, and it has literally 100% subsided over my computer, over my mind, over my daily practice, everything. It's just gone as soon as I realized it and stopped it.
And see, this is where, practicing, with what Michael's talking about, if you can learn to manipulate and understand how energy works, then you can start diving into, because I believe, and Michael, please feel free to put your opinion in here, because I never want to claim that I know it all, that's for sure. This is like a trial and error thing constantly, but it seems like to me that the purpose of the vessel, the body, right, when it's projecting out and pulling in, if you look at how it actually works, not just the organs and the tissues and the, whatever it is, but the breakdown of how the atom works and the combination of the, the negative and the positive and the all those things that are generating inside the body. There has to be levels of where that is projecting out and pulling in through a subconscious level, and that is being filtered through or somehow merging with the trilogy, right, that takes in the actual creation. So it takes the mind, body, and soul to create it all. But because the body, otherwise you wouldn't be in the body. It wouldn't have, it has a purpose, right? There's some reason besides just a meat suit, right? It's in manifestation. It's projecting out and pulling in just the same. So it's waking those places up that are doing it from the subconscious, because that's what's projecting out all the bullshit, all that stuff that people are holding in their bodies that they don't even know.
Right, and it's primarily, like I was saying, people chase facts to feel good about their life, the next promotion, the next relationship, the next time they get high, you name it, and they perceive that these facts cause them to feel a certain way, but it's actually all flipped. It's the feelings that create the facts. whatever primary feeling you're radiating in any given moment goes out from you and materializes into events in space and time that you experience.
And that, yes, and that's where, like, and that's, I get this question all the time. Well, you know, I had this was confronted to me not that long ago. I had a gentleman say to me, well, I don't believe that that's true because I don't believe that a 3-year-old can create being molested or beaten or killed or this or that. And I had to really think about that, right? Like, I had to go into, do I believe this, right? Do I have faith? Do I know that this is true?
Mm-hmm.
And what it was for me and how I realized it was that, did that little girl, was she consciously thinking that she wanted something like that to happen, or was she even aware? No, probably not. But we don't know what happened to the mother in the womb. We don't know who she was in whatever past life or whatever experience that, you know, she's experiencing, which we say past life, but maybe it's in the same time but a different dimension.
Right.
Now we can go into all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what's being projected out and pulled in, but I can guarantee you that if you look, there's been so much trauma throughout even the womb and the birth that the child is already holding and projecting out the victim, right? Which it's not that they are asking for it, it's that's the energy that's coming from them. So perpetrators or people that are looking for that type of energy, they're going to hit it.
Right.
Right? And so it's like that's where somehow it gets stuck in the body at an age of unconsciousness, and then we like pull up our boots, we pull up our pants when we grow up, and we pretend like that stuff isn't happening, or we just handle it, or whatever you want to call it, but it's still manifesting somehow. So like, this is where, like, I'm saying again, like, if you can learn how to manipulate energy and you can understand how energy works, these are the places where you can go into the body and actually clear it out with thought or with, you know, manifestation through your own self and allow the body to do what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something that you talk about.
Yeah, I'm big into that for helping people rearrange their realities. I'm not into the mental approach where you go, what's my belief about this? What's my belief about that? What's happened in the past? What happened here, there? You know, because before something becomes a sight or a sound, or in other words, an event, in reality, it first starts out as a pure vibration or an energy. So what I teach is how to lower your consciousness to get into those levels. Like we have from our primary bubble of source energy that comes out of us, the first level that we have is vibration, and most people don't feel that level. The second level we have is where that vibration manifests in the physical biochemically, and we call that emotions. And that's like the first range of vibration that your standard human, you know, can express or feel. And then the next one is the throat level where sound begins, and then the head level where sight begins. And of course this happens so fast that it's seamless. But what I teach people to do is to drop their consciousness below the head, below the throat, where words don't exist, go down to where nothing exists but emotion, and then sink one layer deeper all the way into the root where emotions don't even exist anymore. It's just vibration. And then I have them examine, like, go into anger now, feel it to its fullest. And they come out of it and they go, well, wow, that was just like a bath of red light. It felt great. And then let's do sadness now. Yeah, go into the most sad, horrible event of your life, and then sink below the thoughts and sink below the emotion. And you'll see that it's just a beautiful energy, like hues of baby blues and whites, and, you know, it's just beautiful. And you end up seeing that all of these things you've been doing in your life was to grow your soul. Everything that you experience that is an incredible emotion gets stored in your eternal soul energy, and they're all beautiful colors once you learn how to, you know, harmonize them and bring them together.
Right.
You know, this is like the part of integrating the self. And to do this, you got to be willing to go into the darkness. You can't just say that you're all light, you're all love, and there's no parts of you that get angry or jealous, or, you know, because then you're just denying those parts that are operating independent of you. So
Now, what do you find, though, with people, and tell me, and, you know, totally, like I said again, let me know, but it's like, for me, what I found is when I was just going there with people, like I was just taking them into what I call the seed, right, which is the vibration that it started from,
right.
and I was just dropping them into it, it was like their reaction was not what I didn't experience. Sometimes I did experience the reaction like you're talking about, but a lot of times it was like there was no understanding there. Like there were so many layers on top of it that it was almost like looking at a cheeseburger or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like they couldn't figure, like, because of the consciousness, because of evolution, because of whatever you want to call it, it's almost like they just were not capable of seeing the seed. Like they could feel it for a second, like you're talking about, but then it would be gone and it would turn into something else. And that's where I started going into the cellular somatic system, which is, and like I said, again, I'm not going to claim that I have it all down. Like this is just the next step for me, like where I decided, like, okay, that isn't, I get it, but it's like that isn't, it seems like people aren't capable. And I'm not talking about like, oh, people are stupid and all that kind of stuff, but it's like they haven't had the practice or something yet to get it. And so like if you can bounce them on the layers, right, that's like more comfortable for them, right? They can lay in the layer for a second and then it dismantles easily and then drop into the next layer and drop into the next one. And then when the seed comes up, it's almost like they've walked the stairs, hit each step, so they're not crazy, right? Or they don't go into, like, I don't know, like, complete not understanding, like that deer in the headlights look. I mean, what do you think about that? Like, have you experienced that? What do you think about with all that?
Well, you know, it's so variant depending on the individual. Like if I'm not in person with them, then, you know, they really have to go through the series of exercises and learn to be sensitive to subtle energies.
Right.
And then, you know, I'm always teaching that it starts out as subtle, but it gets really strong the more you tune to it. Like, these energies only feel subtle because your consciousness isn't tuned to them. Once you tune to them, they're not subtle anymore. They're very, very strong. But even when I'm in person with somebody, it depends on them as to whether or not they can go there, you know, with me when I take them. And some people can go all the way. Sometimes I'll touch energy with somebody, like a teenager who's never done energy, and they'll just jerk and they'll go, "What the hell? I was staring at my body from 10 feet up in the air." And other people go, what was I supposed to feel? Yeah.
You're like, what? But see, that's the whole thing. So for me, what I'm trying to get out there is like, and I want people to understand that it's like, energy is it, right? Like that is what we're made of. That's our vibration. That's everything that's in existence. That's what's creating our reality. But there's got to be a place where, like, I have to believe that people are not doing it on purpose. Like, I have to believe that because our world is such a freaking mess that, and there's so many, and I'm not talking about overall, like, honestly, in truth, like, I don't really experience that much that's negative, right? Like, I go through little spurts, and believe me, I have my lessons, but overall, being, you know, exposed to poverty and all of the things that you see on the planet, I don't have reality of that. But it's still in the collective.
Yeah.
It's like it's still there, and so I'm connected to that somehow for whatever reason, and I feel it, and so I keep trying to find ways that we can connect in a better way or get deeper understanding to where people aren't walking around and still doing it.
Yeah. Well, as I'm always saying, you know, everybody's got to learn energy. It's there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's got to become primary as learning to speak and walk.
And don't you think? Oh, that brings up like the kid thing for me, and you know that gets me totally excited because this is something you and I've talked about, and I always, you know, get distracted. But this is something that I want to be able to do is because I think you're absolutely right. Like if you can show kids, if you start teaching kids about energy and how it how it works and making it real for them when they're little, they will never have reality of it not being that way.
Sherry, can you go into that a little bit more? Because, I have 3 little ones, and sometimes I find myself struggling to explain to them exactly maybe what it looks like. And I have them sitting here kind of listening, and it brings up a lot, and I say, see, that's what I was trying to tell you. So can you go into that a little bit maybe?
Sure, and then Michael too, but it's like, so here's the thing for me, and this is where, I pull in magic, and I use a lot of the things that are interesting to kids, and that's where spells and fairy dust and all of those things come in, is really for the kids, right? Because it draws their attention, and they're interested in that, and when they see things work through it, it like gives them that understanding, right? Like they get it. So starting out really little, one of the things, like, so the exercises that I do is starting really young and starting with the balls of energy. And Michael, you can go into explaining like how you even develop that, but it's like you take the balls of energy that you develop in your hands, and you show them, right, like that you're creating it, and you expand it in your hands in front of them, and then you toss it to them, right? And if they don't catch it, you're like, oh, missed it, and you go over and you pick it up, right, and you grab it again, and then you toss it to them. And then they'll grab it, right? And then once they grab it, their energy projects into whatever it is that manifestation, bam, right? It happens for them. And so that becomes their reality. Like they start understanding the manipulation of energy. So playing with the balls,
And that brings us into imagination, which is a word that's heavily discounted by humanity. Like in the paradigm that we're in, imagination means not real. Whereas imagination is supposed to mean bringing something into reality by using mental imagery.
Bam! I love that, and I'm so glad that you just said that, because that's something, I could go into, like, if it was just Michael and I on the air, or on the phone, and we were talking about stuff, I would go probably way wild with that, but on the air, I'm not probably going to do that yet, so... But there's a lot to that, and I have experienced it on a level that, to me, it's like if everybody could see it, we wouldn't even need these radio shows. Like, we wouldn't need anything, because people would just be sucking it up and creating it how they want it and experiencing it, and it would just be awesome. And that's, like, the imagination part, you're right. Like, we're all taught, basically, that it's all bullshit. That everything that's real, anything that can be manifested is not real, and all the things that are keeping us depressed and feeling yucky, well, those are the real things.
Yeah.
Don't you think? That's like look at how, I don't know, and maybe it's not that way everywhere, but it seems like if you look at the exposure that people have, and that brings back, like, what I was saying, like, with the energies, when you're out there and you see on TV, like, all these things that are happening on the planet, but then all these people are banding together and they're fixing it and doing all this stuff, and it gives hope and all these great things. Those are all wonderful, don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to take it from that. But again, no matter how you're projecting your energy, if you're putting your energy into something, you're feeding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it's like people that think that they're out there saving the world, if they're putting out and spreading hatred and they're spreading things that are not of, like, how to fix it.
Right.
You're doing the same thing.
Yeah. And it's like you got to be the solution, and I hate to say it, but chasing conspiracies just creates more conspiracies.
Exactly.
And these people, they get all wrapped up in it, like, this is reality creation. That's how that shit works. So they're just, damn, the government this, government that. They go out seeking. Next thing you know, they find some secret base and they get nerve gas or something, or these crazy stories that trickle in. And I don't doubt for a second that that's what they experience. But I've seen that I can, experience some pretty interesting things too. Metaphysically speaking, manifestations. So I know this stuff is possible, that we are forming this experience. And what's so hard to grasp is that we are space-time creators. So in other words, by having our soul energies housed in the ego structure of the body that's perfectly aligned with linear space and time, when you create, it becomes linear space and time. So if you think a powerful thought and an airplane flies above your head, you know, a person, your typical consciousness will say, well, I know I created that in that moment, but how can that be true? Because that airplane's got real people in it with lives, itineraries, families, birth certificates, so on and so forth. But that's how it works.
That's
we
right.
ground things into the linear structure of time. We are not in space and time like people think. We actually are space and time.
It's so funny. I just did that.
What was
What's
that
that?
now? Sorry.
I was just saying I was doing the soul contract removal outside, and I didn't even tell anybody about it afterwards because I didn't think anybody would listen. But, you know, I felt that I wanted protection of some sort while I was saying it. And I literally had, my daughter was standing there, I literally had over 10 of the same color, same path, same everything. They were blue and silver planes that literally went over my head while I was citing this stuff out loud. And her jaw was just on the floor. Our jaws I couldn't even, I'm like, okay, explain that one in your logical mind. Right?
See, that's the whole thing, is that it's not logical. It's like, and that's why I always am saying the universe wants to show up for you, right? Like, it doesn't, like, it starts out small with, like, getting that parking space or, you know, doing all these little things, but the truth is that it can be just like you said. Like, you need to be shielded, you need to be whatever it is, and it will show up for you if you're open to it and you're like, bam, that's how it's going to be. It just happens that way, right? Unless it's filtered somewhere where there's a belief or there's, I don't even like the word belief, because Michael's right about it really just being a vibration that's holding in the body, that's in that sign above your head or whatever it is, that's telling the universe, okay, well, I know that I'm saying this on this side, but my real belief, my core belief is this, so we're going to either somehow mix it up and make it like hell, or we're going to get it for a little ways, and then we're still going to experience the life is, right? And so that's where, like you said, like getting into the seed, right? Manifesting from there all the time, right? Being in consciousness and manifesting. And I think, you know, I watched the thing, and I don't want to claim to know what it was, because it was something that I was probably seeing and passing, and it was Eckhart Tolle, and he was talking about, he says, when I wake up in the morning, I decide how my day is going to be, right? Like I'm manifesting it, I'm creating it every day. And I'm thinking, wow, like that's really, like, when you've mastered that, like, you're mastering energy. You're mastering the whole trilogy, right? And really, again, if you're in that kind of manifestation, you're going to wake up happy and go to bed that way, and what are you going to create? Right? The more happiness you're in, the more joy you're in, the more you're going to create that kind of stuff in your life.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know,
just compounds.
Yeah. And that's where, like I said, so I think that's where I'm trying to come up with methods, or a method that helps people to find that seed, right, where it's projecting out and pulling in from a subconscious level, from wherever it is. You know, we can say it's the childhood, we can say it's the mother, it's fear, it's this, it's that. It could be from another lifetime. It could be all these different things. But again, you were exactly right. The story doesn't matter. It's the vibration, right? And wherever that's stuck and wherever that's holding, if you can fall into it, right, let yourself express it, let yourself feel it, and not be afraid of it anymore, it's powerless. And then all of a sudden the light shines in, or whatever you want to call it, and bam, it's gone, and you're not manifesting it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I've mastered it, because I still have shit that goes on with me. And all of a sudden I find myself back in the box.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then you crawl out of it, and you're like, woo, got out of that one. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're walking, or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you're in another box. I mean, maybe that's part of what we're supposed to be doing here. I don't know.
Well, you know, something interesting I've stumbled onto lately is pretty earth-shattering, is the energy of time. So time is a vibration, and it's like a sine wave or whatever. It goes in and out at the same time, like a standing wave,
Right.
and it's the lowest vibration in this reality. And your typical person to evolve is seeking high vibrations, so that's why they never really find the energy of time. It's like the lowest, deepest source vibration of this whole sum totality of everything we're doing is contained within the time vibration, which you could say is the higher self, because it's the part of you that's operating outside of time and setting up all of the events, and feeding them into the time wave. When you find this, though, when you actually feel the energy of time and you get in tune with the stream, you can stand upstream from it. What I notice is that the human consciousness, for whatever reason, is behind the stream of time. So if you picture the wave goes out and back in, at the same time,
right.
the human is facing the wave as it comes back in. So everywhere they walk, boom, the universe hits them in the face. Boom, hits them in the face. Everywhere they're going. But when you find the time stream and then you stand upstream of it, it all starts flowing out of you like a river. And I mean, sky's the limit at that point. I mean, I don't even want to go into the things you can do because it would scare most people.
Well, and I get it, because that's so true. I think, honestly, like, the limitations that the mind has are so comical to me, because it really is limitless, and it's about, and this is the thing, like, I keep trying to, I guess I'm focusing on the body because I feel like that's where people really don't have understanding. And it's like people, they go to church, they do all these different things that have brought them to a place where they think they understand their soul conscious, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They've done all these things with their minds, like getting educated or, understanding how we work, all these different things. But it's like they think it's like the body truly is just like this meat suit, like it's something that consumes and then, be consumed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's the purpose. And it's like, if they can realize that it actually is a generator, and so it's not just about, like, you can transcend anything that's entering your body as far as food, as far as water, as far as anything that's of physical form. I think that you can transcend it. That's my belief.
Oh, yeah.
I think you should say that one more time, because ever since I've taken on that belief, I've spoken with you about it, with Jillian about it, and about how you can literally change anything into a strawberry. And since, a lot of people are stuck on the organic thing with, and I still kind of am myself at some point, but that you can change it if you want to, means that you can eat those things that make you happy, even though the diet says not to. And I think you should say that one more time, because people...
Oh, yeah. It's not about the food. It's not about the foods that people eat. I mean, I'm not going to say, okay, yeah, everybody should sit down and slam 80 million Big Macs and, all these other things, just because I think it's disgusting. I mean, it's like, if you, sit down and eat a box or, whatever, or some worms or whatever that just is gross to other people, like that. But I think that if you're consuming something and you feel guilty about it, it's going to hurt your body. If you're consuming something because you're trying to shove down the shit that's stuck there, or you're feeling a gap, or all of these things that we use food for, then yeah, it's not gonna be good for you. You're gonna have high cholesterol. You're gonna be overweight. You can go down the whole list. Everything. You're gonna have allergies. You're gonna develop all these different issues around the food because you're not dealing with the core of the issue, right? Because once your body vibrates and you actually put your vibration, like what Michael was talking about, vibrating outside the body, like our actual being is it's not actually just confined to the body. It's just a vessel of the manifestation of the 3D reality, right? So as we're projecting in, as you touch the water, as you touch the food, as you put your energy into it from source and earth or whatever, it's like, bam, you get it,
Yeah.
And it's like, and it doesn't matter then, right? It just doesn't.
Yeah, with diet, the way I teach it is that there's a set program that's sort of on autopilot, and that's in the range that's observable by science. So there are like nutritional facts that the body operating independent of mind sort of adheres to. But the rest of it is dependent on your own consciousness and your own willpower and your own understanding of energy. Those things play as much or even a greater factor than the scientific nutritional data about the food.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think it also comes down to also like, and tell me what you think about this too, because it's like a lot of it has to do with self-worth. To me, it's like if you're eating things that you know are just complete and total crap for your body, for the vessel, and you're not really transcending it, you're eating out of all these other places of misery. I mean, then what do we expect? You know what I mean? It's not the food's fault, right? It's like right. what we're putting into it while we're consuming it, don't you think?
A big part of it, yeah. I mean, it's it rests somewhere in the middle of balance between the neutral data about the food and then your own interpretation of it and your own energy and your own willpower. It's like an energy master could pretty much eat anything or even nothing and still be healthy. But your regular person that's operating on autopilot, they had better adhere to a decent diet, you know. Did we lose Sherry?
I think we may have. All right, Bethany, are you still there? I don't know. It might just be me and you, Michael.
Okay. Well, we can fill in the space.
No, it's funny because I've been thinking about it since you popped on about how I wanted to ask you a question. I didn't want to go off topic. Can you tell me something about what I heard about staring at yourself in the mirror?
That lesson that I teach? Is that what you mean? Yeah. Yeah, it's a mirror meditation I teach to both develop your clairvoyance and to integrate simultaneous aspects of yourself. These are sometimes called past lives, future lives, and then there's fragments of your current life. But what you do is you look into the mirror with a neutral type of focus, and you sort of cancel your bifocal mechanism to where you're seeing yourself as one image, and go through a series of mental adjustments to where you allow the image in the mirror to vibrate and change into something else. And I include in that the key understanding that the reflection is actually a projection. So the mirror is like a symbol that our consciousness uses, meaning a projection of self, and it just happens automatically in the physical reality. So by realizing that, you can go into a clairvoyance and a state of vibration and begin to shapeshift in the mirror into alternate selves. Anything from past lives, future lives, other human lives, extraterrestrial lives, supernatural lives, like even angelic beings and elemental beings. I mean, you name it, sky's the limit. And each one of these that you integrate into your now experience ramps up the amount of energy that you have available for your current experience, and it increases the level of balance that you have in your thoughts and your decision making, because every new aspect that you integrate into your soul becomes a new way of viewing things. And when you vibrate with all of these in your whole soul signature, you tend to make more balanced decisions.
You know, and that was my second part of the question, because after Sherry and I went through one of our sessions, I looked in the mirror and I had to stop her and I said, okay, tell me what's going on, Sherry, because my lips got very, almost like a purplish type of red, and then where my eyebrows come down to my bridge of my nose, it kind of went white. I mean, just no pigment white, and kind of went up into my forehead a little, and it looked like a different face. You know, I can't even explain it, but that's what I was wondering. Is she said that it sounded like it was like a past Syrian almost, like aquatic or cat-like type, past life.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that when you bring that in, because it's happened a couple times since then, and so many things have opened up since that energy session.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't even describe them all. I can't even pinpoint them all now that I'm thinking about it. So many viewpoints, though, have opened up. Answers flowed in. Do you so you think that, what is that? That you bring that part of you back to the conscious mind? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. You're bringing it into the range of scope for the conscious mind.
Wow. Okay. And I don't know. I'm not getting any call from Sherry. I wonder if we're still. It says that we're still connected. Bethany, are you there?
I'm still here.
Is Sherry there?
She's coming.
Oh, okay. How about Michael? Can you maybe touch on how to become more aware of the subtle energies?
Yeah, it has to do with sensitivity and not discounting minute data. You got to start with the most subtle of feelings. Like, I teach people to begin to feel with the eyes. That's a big one. So we think that our five senses are only for, receiving information on that fixed range, but you can actually learn how to overlap the senses. Like, anybody knows that when they stare at a beautiful painting, they feel different than when they stare at an ugly pile of garbage, right? It makes you feel different. If you pay attention to these tiny subtleties of how things on the outside, when you view them, make you feel on the inside, you can find the link between the inner and the outer. And then next thing you know, you can look at a tree and start swaying back and forth, and you can feel the tree's location moving through your mind, like whoop, whoop, whoop. And the next thing you know, you gain the ability to feel all things in your environment with your eyesight. It becomes almost like your sense of touch overlaps with your sense of sight. And as far as developing the energies, the thing that I teach is you're feeling it already. Like, we're stuck in this digital consciousness, on or off, or physical or spiritual, black or white, and when it's really analog. So you've got a heart pumping blood through you and you feel warmth going through your body. Congratulations, you feel energy. Because that's the first manifestation of energy. Now, what we actually call energy on this planet, in this world, is not actually energy. It's resistance to energy. And that's what allows it to manifest into the physical spectrum. Like, lightning would not strike if there wasn't air between the ground and the atmosphere to resist it. Electricity wouldn't flow through a wire, or there wouldn't be any measurable electricity without the wire to resist the actual current. So all of this, the way science is looking to try to prove these things is a bit off, because they're trying to they're only being able to observe energy when it manifests into the physical spectrum, and not actually get to the primal causal reality, which is a very smooth magnetic flux with like zero resistance. So to find that, I take people through the sensations, combing their body with their hands, slapping their skin, make it tingle, put your hand over it, magnify it a bit, caress and comb, and eventually, depending on your polarization, your standard person can get either sensations of heat or sensations of cold by doing basic hand-focused sensitivity over the body. And the next level, if they pay attention to that, like if they're feeling heat, they can amplify that heat and put more and more awareness in that spot. Next thing you know, they start to get electrical tingles, which is a step up from hot, heat, and cold. It still shows that you have some resistance or some blockage because it's manifesting as, electrical tingles. But the next stage, after you're able to feel electrical tingles all over your body, and you drop your barriers even more, as you feel the smooth electromagnetic flux going in and out of the body in just perfect fluidity, and the breath becomes connected to it, and the heartbeat becomes connected to it, And the next thing you know, you're experiencing a whole different type of reality than everybody else. While you're still in the physical reality, you're smoothly connected to a flow of energies and connected to the intelligence of all things inside of you and outside of you.
And don't you think that, so like, I mean, this is one of the things that I practice myself, and I don't know how other people do this, so I'm kind of curious actually, but it's like for me, maybe we've talked about this before, but like when you talk about moving physical things or using energy, and you were talking about like that you're already feeling the vibration and you're already like existing in the same kind of vibration or whatever it is. To me, so like when I want to move the tree or I want to experience the tree or see from the tree, it's like I physically or literally in my mind merge and become the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And anything though, like I have found that, and I'm working on this, I'm practicing on heavier items are more for me. For some reason, the physical denseness, actually moving it seems to be more difficult. So I'm working on moving the door, right? Like that's my next thing, and that could take me a while. But because I feel like if I can become it, it doesn't matter. It's like we should be able to manipulate anything, because once we merge our existence into it, we can move it just like we move our hands, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, and I don't really, and maybe you and I can talk about this too, it's like the physical, like I have noticed, like it seems simple for me, the elements, right, which, you know, I'm very connected into that anyway, but it's like plants and animals and things that are kind of in that realm, dirt, you know, all that kind of stuff, that doesn't seem that difficult for manipulation. It's more like, but the physical parts of the 3D, like furniture and things that are like that consist of such a heavy reality to me, those seem like touching into those and becoming a part of that, like you were saying that one time, like that seems difficult for me. It almost seems like I'm trying on a yucky suit that's too tight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, when you project into dense physical matter, it's thick, you know, it's like,
yeah,
like sludgy, it's like, like, have you ever seen what a can of paint looks like if you spill it on the ground, dumping it, it's like it has these ripples in it, but they're just extremely slow, like, that's what physical matter feels like when you fully merge with it. It almost makes you sick, like,
yeah,
I've had a few episodes where I'm doing major grounding energy, and all of a sudden my consciousness will just melt like butter through my legs, leak out into the ground, and it's like everywhere my soul goes, I can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell with it. So this happens like a huge puddle that drips out all over the neighborhood, grows up into the telephone poles, into the neighbors' houses and everything. And when I get there, I just want to throw up.
Yes. I mean, seriously, like that. It's so funny that you're saying that, because that's exactly, like, literally, it makes my stomach sick.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, and that's so I've been really trying to kind of, I'm learning how to like stay, like maybe lift the vibration of the physical instead of allowing the physical, instead of manipulating into the physical. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm kind of working with, because I've also noticed there's certain areas on the planet, like, you know, with the work I do, I'll work with somebody that's in a certain area, and sometimes just out of not even trying, but I'll touch into the actual, like, the ground level, the environment of the state or different places, and it's like, it's literally like I almost can't move. That's how low the vibration is. It's like, it's so, it's more than sludge. It's like, I can't even describe it. Like a snail is like a speed racer.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I've been finding helps with all of this is going through the elements like you teach. If you want to move the air, get the air moving, like, or do aerokinesis, you pull in ether, which is lighter than air, and condense it, and you spin it through the air, and that causes movement in the air. If you want to move water, you pull the vibration of air and, you know, push that into the water. So if we want to go comfortably into the solid earth vibration, we've got to take the water with us,
right,
and add that motion to it.
And
while having the air mixed with the water and the ether mixed with the air. So we have the whole thing.
And all together. And that's where it's so funny that you said that, because that's something like when I'm touching into people, one of the biggest things in almost every single person on the planet, they need more water. It's like the first thing their body says to me is they're thirsty. It's like they're thirsty. They need more water. And and people always say to me, well, I drink lots of water. But it's like, if they think about how much, like, as we're transcending and moving, and I think more people are waking up, and more people are expanding and all these things, the body is like, it needs so much more fluid to be able to have the energy flowing freely. And I don't really know what that means or why, but when there's not a lot of water, when I can see that the body is really dehydrated, it seems like that's when the energy has a hard time moving. And that's when I have a hard time moving around too in there. If somebody's really dehydrated, or if they're, if they're really, like, if they've taken some kind of tranquilizer or something like that, it does the same thing. It's like, like hardly moves.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird. So I think that's interesting that that's probably how it is on the whole planet. Yeah. It's not just in the body. Like, is the body the reflection, or is the planet the reflection, or is the universe the reflection? Like, which is what?
Yeah, it's like chicken or the egg.
Yeah. It's like shit. And then it comes down to, well, it's probably just somebody's thought. Well, then it goes to, like, who is the somebody? And, it can go, like, welcome to the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Right. And it is unexplainable. We do our best, and we can do damn good jobs of using our ego mind and our logic to make a grounded framework for which we can grasp this from within the body, but and it's useful. I'm not saying it's not. Just because the sum totality of everything is incomprehensible does not mean you should not try, but at the same time you shouldn't go insane over it in the process, because it can't be housed. Like, the intelligence of how it all operates cannot be housed in the physical spectrum, because the physical spectrum is a dense vibration. There's no knowledge here. There's experience here. Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know exactly. And that's where, like, so I was trying to explain to somebody, like, for me, when you're talking about, like, the vibration and the knowledge and all that stuff, like, for me, when I'm really gonna, and I hear people use the term down low, I hear all these different terms, but to me, like, when I'm really touching into my higher self, to the universe, whatever you want to call it, it's like a place of really, like, focusing into the center, right, and then projecting out. But it's like this flow of letting things, I guess, kind of just fall into place and not try and understand it. Because if I try and understand everything, if I try and, put it into a box, it just throws me into complete chaos. Like, it just doesn't you can't make sense of how things, because it's not 3D. It's like you said, this is an experiential place, and how the body and how the mind and how everything is working, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
People are always wondering, well, what are we doing here, or what's the purpose, or this and that. But it's like, okay, well, if you think about it, it's one of the only realms that you can have emotion, right? So you have emotion in this realm, and then you have the atom, the time of atom, right? ADAM, but it's really ATOM, mm-hmm. right? And so the time of atom. So here we are in this realm of emotion. So are we projecting out and pulling in from emotion so that we can have the experience, or are we having the experience so that we can, you see what I'm saying? It's like it is such a circle. Like, how could you even, like, where do you go with that?
Well, where I've ended up, and the best I can summarize it, is you travel out of the body a lot, just like I do, so you know that for whatever reason, this is the densest energy in every realm, anywhere, ever, right?
Right.
Like, there's more compression of energy here, and you're more self-aware when you're here than when you're out of the body, for whatever reason. Like, the out-of-body realms are real, and you're aware of self, but you're not as self-aware as you are here. Like it's, well, yeah. I mean, that's just what it is. You can think, you have a logical mind, you can, you're aware of yourself, and the realm itself is very real, but it's just not as real as this one. So what I think we're doing here is training our consciousness to form a realm of time and space of this greater density of energy. And once we've mastered it, this realm will be a light realm. And I don't mean that it'll be lighter. It'll be the same mass that it is now, but our consciousness will be trained like weightlifters. It'll be light to us.
Right. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
When I go out of body, and especially to like the local parallel Earths, like the first ring of Earths that are around this Earth and the star worlds, the people are mortal. They're living their lives. They're working jobs. They have bodies of flesh and bone. They bleed. They need to eat, all this stuff. But when I'm in their worlds, I'm in the same exact body as theirs, but my body is ascended. I can walk through walls, shapeshift, levitate, fly, heal anybody of anything, you name it. Because to me, that energy is light. But to them, that's density.
Right. And that makes so much sense. It's like if you can actually, and that's where I think people have so much misunderstanding about dimensional shifting and things like that. It's like people, it's almost like, and I guess maybe this is an extreme, but it's like, imagine, like being the ghost of somewhere, right? Like, but you're not, right? Like there's already an existence of your being, and you're just placing your consciousness into every realm of reality because we are all, right? It's like, anyway, I guess, Bethany, do we have there's somebody asking a question, I think. Is that true? Let me see.
No, you have a caller, and I'm sorry, I didn't want to unmute because it's really loud right now.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, so you want to, what about, you want to put the caller on? I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Area code 303.
I was kind of afraid that was going to be me. I called in at the first of the show, and then I've listened to this, and it's totally profound, totally true, totally resonate with every bit of it. But last night or the night before, they read something on the call. They read a book about DNA and gold, and they were saying, take a ring, a personal ring of yours, put it in a glass of water, and then drink the water. And I'm a homeopath forever. And I can't even tell you how many remedies I have in every room. I have herb formulas up the kazoo every place. And in 24 hours, what that drinking of the DNA, that's the gold water of a ring that belongs to us, has manifested in my body is absolutely profound. I cannot believe the difference. It is just unbelievable. So I highly recommend that, in our process of what we're going through now, which is pretty intense, that everybody go get their gold ring and stick it in a spice bottle, and then don't drink. I'm drinking it every few hours, a couple ounces. I tell you, I'm a new, more strong, more capable, more ready to make this step than I've ever been in my entire life. And I just look at those remedies and think, isn't that going to be fun to just put them on the shelf? Because I don't have to use them anymore. It's amazing. But it's just where we are.
And so what
we
do you
are
think
just.
Okay, so
what?
So what do you think that is? Like, I mean, you think about, because what we're talking about here is like, really, we are the creators and the manifestors of our being, right?
Right.
So if you think about it, right, you're projecting into the DNA, but think about also like your whole being, right? Like you're actually you're not just
treating the physical. You're treating every level of your consciousness as well. Yeah. And it's your consciousness because it's your property. I mean, this particular ring that was given to me when I was 20 years old, and I've had it forever. And it's become a total part of me, sticking it in a glass of water, putting water on it, and not waiting to drink it once a day, but drinking it every time I felt like it. And I just cannot believe the things that have healed in a couple of days after years and decades of trying to heal myself. Knowing that a homeopathic remedy, if you take a second one, you've canceled it out, you've ruined it. This thing is yours. It's you. It's your DNA in that little glass of water that is making amazing transformations on every level of our development, our spirituality, our physicality, everything. And it's amazing. I just had to tell you guys.
Well, that is so exciting to me, because I think that I really do believe that our, like our medicines and even the homeopathic stuff, don't get me wrong, like I believe in oils, and I think that there's a lot to, being in nature and using natural things for our body. But again, it's like I really just keep getting confirmation that it is always within us. Like we have the capabilities of doing whatever it is. And so just like, and I actually know somebody, and I know other people that, and not the ring, but other things, like taking their fingernails and putting them in water and stuff, which is, to me, that's kind of gross, but that's not, whatever it is. So, and they've said the same exact thing, that it's like, it is so, like, all of a sudden they feel healthier, they have more energy, they feel great. I mean, what does that mean? Like, that's amazing.
Just because of these phone calls, these blog talks that we're doing, we are sharing information that we would have never ever encountered in thousands of years of being on this planet. These phone calls have made a hell of a difference in our lives. Huge.
Oh, I think it's so amazing now. As much as I curse technology in so many ways, it was like, I think about how we all connect now, and it's like, and really, like you say, sharing these experiences. And so it's like, even if 10 people try it and totally heal themselves or whatever it is, that's 10 people that would have never heard that. So
and those 10 people will tell 10 people, and those 10 people will tell 10 more. And this shift is going to be a hell of a lot easier if we're all physically ready for it, instead of maybe spiritually ready for it, but physically in the dumper, which is what I've been for years, trying to get myself straightened out. But this has made such a significant difference. I didn't know what the call was going to be about, but that's why I called in early, and I sat here thinking about it. And the more I heard about you guys, the more you guys said, it totally makes total sense. Yes, the physical realm is totally dense, very hard to handle, and yet look how many of us are here, and we came specifically for this event and this time. And why not have a little extra, DNA to pat us along and help us as we do this shift? It's amazing how much difference I feel than 2 days ago before I heard this on the air.
Oh, I think.
Did you hear about the book? Did you hear about the book where the lady read it was called Particle something, and she read it 2 days ago, and I read out and got the book immediately. And made my water, and then started walking through the kitchen every 3 or 4 hours and drinking it and thinking, oh, my God, this is huge, gigantic. This is my DNA. I'm reinforcing my DNA.
Well, another thing that I think is interesting about it is that, and this is something that I've been studying, like I totally think you're right about the DNA, but another thing that I think is fascinating is the gold. And I'll tell you why. Because so I take a powdered gold, right? Like I take
the aurum nitricum. It's called aurum nitricum, right?
And I love it, right? Like I don't know that much about it. I can tell you, I don't take huge amounts of it, and I don't take it every day, but it does make a difference in my body. And so I feel like, and I feel the same way, like what you're talking about. Since I've been taking the gold, I literally I use the example, like I run in the morning, and and I smoke. So, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, I'm counteracting or whatever it is, but really, I'm huffing and puffing at the end, and I'm about killing myself. So once I started taking the gold, and I'm not kidding, it's like the huffing and puffing is gone.
Well, the amazing thing is you put your ring in the little bit of water, and you see the bubbles in there. Where are the bubbles coming from? If gold literally can go other dimensions and back to us, yes, if it can, it is amazing stuff. It is amazing stuff. And the fact that we've had that gold in our possession for as long as practically been on the planet, and it's our DNA in that gold. It's our DNA. Our DNA is getting reinforced, and it's powerful dimensionally and in every way. And it's just amazing difference. It's huge. I can't get over it. I can't, because I'm thinking, how many shelves can I clean out when I just compact my homeopathics, which I must have over 400, just that alone, without even touching the herb formulas or the teas or the other things that I've done all these years.
Right.
It's just amazing, simple, and fabulous.
I'm so glad that you called, because that is so, like...
Me too.
I'm always poo-pooing stuff, and it's, I don't really say it out loud, but people will say, oh, well, you know, try this or try that, or, you know, and I'm not going to say that some of them don't work, right, because it does.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it always seems like there's something else, or it doesn't really, you know, there's always these little things, and so it's like, I just really got, and it's like, it just is such a bam, like, it is within us, and so when we're pulling in from, anytime we're looking outside of our own being, for whatever it is, we're looking in the wrong direction, because it's not going to really hit it, right? It may do a part of it, but it's not going to really do it until we turn it inward and really get it.
Well, the lady who read the other night read the book Particle Personalities by Robert Shapiro. I ran out immediately and got the book. And, you know, the book wasn't the convincer. What was the convincer is I kept walking by that water and seeing all those bubbles and thinking, this is going universally. This is going dimensionally. This is going so far out. Why did I take part in this? And it has just been amazing. It's a very short test, but I know that I will never be the same again, and I will never, ever give up drinking this gold, because it is amazing. It's huge.
And I'm so glad. Yeah, and that's, you know, like, I've wanted to, I don't know enough about, like, so when I'm talking about the powdered gold, it's like this white powder, and I bought it from, online from a place in Puerto Rico that, I feel like was reputable, and I did some research. Anyway, it's so amazing, but, like, it doesn't come with instructions.
No, that's true. Well, I've used Arum for years, and like all homeopathic remedies, as soon as you take it, if you drink coffee, you ruined it. If you do this, you ruined it. If you take it too soon, you ruined it. But if you drink, if you put your little gold ring that belongs to you, that has your vibration and your energy on it, stick it in a little spice bottle, put water in there, leave it in the sun for 3 hours, and you see it's all full of bubbles, you know that something has happened in there, because where'd the bubbles come from? And you drink it, and in 2 days, you are a different person with new strength, new positivity, and you're ready to go forth into this dimension that we're in now, that for me has been nothing but confusion, and I can't remember the time, I can't remember the date, and everybody thinks I have Alzheimer's. But, you know, but this has made a hell of a difference. I don't have Alzheimer's today. Leave me alone. I mean, it's huge.
It's huge, because here's the thing, too. It's like, I really do believe, and this is in all the scientific studies that I've done and all the things that I've looked at, it's like the body wants to regenerate itself.
Exactly.
But because of the physicalness of this 3D reality, and because of the emotional holding in the body, and I could go down this whole list, it's like it's just not completely capable. And what this gold does, it somehow just kicks it in to where, like, for me, like I said, like even my skin, you know, totally everything is just like, it's just amazing.
I know. I notice that too. When I wake up in the middle of the night and rub my arms, I'm thinking I was taking product B, which costs a ton of money, and my skin improved slightly. But this, in 2 days, has done miracles. My skin feels soft and subtle and almost like a baby butt. And this is 2 days.
And it's because the body, it's like the body wants that, right? The body wants to regenerate itself. It does. But it's like there's so much crap in our, and I think a lot of it is in our thought process, right? When you're constantly brought up to think you either need a pill or you need a remedy or you need something outside yourself, you're always searching, and it's always something else.
And you're putting your energy
again, if it's our ring, it's our DNA. We are reinforcing our own DNA, because we're using something that belongs to us, that has our vibration, and all we're doing is potentizing it by adding the water. That's where the bubbles come from, and then you're ready to drink it. And then you fill it up, and you leave it there again, and then you can drink it again. And I just feel like for 48 hours that I've been doing this, I have had the most amazing results on every spiritual, physical, psychological, calmness, happiness, and no more. I don't think I'm going to forget the date again forever. I think it just has brought all the pieces together.
I would love for you to, if you're on Facebook, and I would love for you to post something about this and then we can do some backup stuff on it. But it's so important. I think that if people could really see that it can work for everyone, that it's really about regenerating our own being and all of these things. Like, I think that is so dynamic. It's another handoff, right? It's like, it's not about, well, here, let me give you a remedy that you can come to me for, and you can pay me money, or you can do this, or you can do that. No, this is about you. All you have to do is, like you said, drop your ring in some water. Like that. Or
drop a gold coin in some water. Everybody's got a little bit of gold somewhere that belongs to them. Dump it in a glass of water. When the bubbles are there, it's ready. It's ready to consume and make that a part of your energy field. It's gigantic. It's so worth it.
Ooh,
and I'm so happy I called in.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can't hear you anymore. You're breaking up, but thank you. I'm glad I called. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
Hey Sherry, I think the what I'm feeling is the reason why people are confused is because they want to clarify the specifics of how it gets in, and I think they're having a hard time grasping of why it changes you and how it has your DNA. And I think we should clarify just that when you wear that piece or you keep that coin in your pocket or anything like that, you know, just like we were talking about earlier, how your energy kind of molds with the things around you, and especially the things you hold close to you. So your DNA already goes into whatever especially if you hold it dear, you know, you're putting a lot more energy into that. And so when you put it into the water and you re-drink it, that's how your DNA is in the gold, and that's how it gets fed back to you.
Which makes so much sense, though, to me. Like, I guess I hadn't really thought of it like that, but it really does make sense. Like, it's like, I always tell my kids, they bitch about mosquitoes or whatever. And I always tell them, no, they're really good for you, because what they're doing is they're giving you your vaccinations, right? Like, they're going around to other people, and they, you know, these other people might have a cold or might have this or might have that, and then they're coming over and they're putting little bits of it in you, and then, you know, you're getting a little bump, but then you won't get sick. Well, think about that. Like, so if you're putting back in your own DNA, holy crap, like, that just, like, all of a sudden, like, that makes so much sense.
And they say, too, that you can you can move interdimensionally with, you know, what's the word I'm looking for, Michael, when you can actually transfer your, or parts of yourself, something along those lines, through the dimension, through gold, right?
Yeah, well, with everything that was discussed, the way I view it is it's not so much that we're changing our DNA, it's that we're understanding it. Because DNA to me is the crystal pattern of every possible thing you wanted to achieve and understand in this lifetime. Like, our soul light shining out of our DNA is what's creating, like, all of this. And so the hopes was that our consciousness could bring to the level of the ego mind the understanding of everything external, you know, being internal. So when you merge with the symbol of gold on the outside, you're simply finding it within yourself. You're finding the location of that within your own structure, because within the DNA code of every single person is a perfected pattern that we hope to reach in any given incarnation. So the DNA is already, you know, set and programmed for ascension. We just have to unlock the fullness of this gift package that we've programmed for ourselves.
Right. Exactly. And so, and this brings me to something that I've been like, and I've been wanting to talk to you about anyway, and Keisha too, because I think that we all kind of three have the same idea, but maybe different views. And so, I have this vision, or this something, I don't know what you want to call it, but literally of the inner earth becoming the outer earth and the outer earth going within. Like, it's not, and it's not necessarily on a physical level like you were talking about, like, but I almost do see physical change. Like, I see the light, the colors changing in a way that maybe I don't understand. But, and that's what I think is happening to human beings as well. Like, as within is without, and then it's going to shift. Like, that's the evolution that everybody's waiting for. Like, it's not coming from outside.
Right.
I've
been doing energy like that lately, and it's tough to hold, but I've completely flipped inside out. Like this last week, I was experimenting with it. So everybody that's awake and conscious understands that God is within. God is within, God is within, God is within. We keep hearing that. And the best solution you can come up to think of that is, yes, everything's inside of me, so one day I'm going to die and go fully inside of myself and fully experience God. But what I've come to a realization is, no, that's not what we're supposed to do. You're supposed to go all the way to the God within and flip it inside out and put the God within outside and into the world.
Yes.
And then we each do that, and our God within overlaps with everybody else's God within, forms a consciousness of its own that will be greater than we are, yet we know that we all created it, so we won't be offended by it, and then Gaia will finally form. Like the goddess, the Gaia, everything, that hasn't been created yet. That's an idea construct that we want to bring into being. When we actually all flip our consciousness inside out and give God to the world, then the world will become God and we'll be in paradise.
Oh, see, and that makes me so excited, because that was like, you just put it into words for me in a way that I just was not even capable. And that is, it makes me so excited. I literally, like, want to jump up and down.
Oh, it's amazing. Every day would be like a birthday party and Christmas all in one, you know?
Yes, like the biggest present you could possibly imagine times like 100. Like, because, I mean, I think about like how it feels, you know, when I'm vibrating at a certain level, and I know that sometimes I do fall into ego and I do different things, but it's like when I'm vibrating at a level where I can literally see the planet in a way where I do not have judgment, and I'm vibrating at it's like so peaceful and so calm and so beautiful, and everything, including, like, it doesn't matter what it is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And to be able to live and experience and manifest from that, to me, is like, I'm so excited. Like, I think that that's how, if people could just have a taste, they would never want it any other way. Like, that was it. You know? And I think that, too, like, the fairy realm and all these different realms that people either, you know, don't have reality of, they think or pretend, they think or whatever, and I'm not going to go, and I don't want the show to turn into, you know, a big debate on that kind of stuff, but it's like, human beings are so in the box, right, that they don't want to see that, or they don't want to believe that there are other dimensions, or there are other things vibrating outside of just what they see. And once they start vibrating at a higher level, I think that's when they're going to really start seeing. Don't you think?
Oh, definitely. I prefer the term greater level, though, instead of higher, because I find a lot of enlightenment in the so-called low vibrations as well as the high vibrations, you know. Like.
And that's so good. I'm glad that you said that.
I think it's just that they're starting to vibrate, period. You know, because right now they're not vibrating. They're stuck in the physical spectrum of solidity entirely. Once you learn how to vibrate, the whole range is beautiful.
And I think that's where, and I know you and I have talked about this, and when I talk about falling into ego and stuff like that, that's where I start to get frustrated, because I'm like, it doesn't seem like anybody's getting it, you know. And I know that I've called, you know, I've whined to you. It's like, and you know, it's just pulling it back. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. All we can do is put the seed out there, and then it's up to each person to decide, and it's not up to us to decide which way they go. But if you can master energy, I think if you can really understand how we're manifesting, and really start taking responsibility on top of it, right? It's one thing to take a look at things. I hear that all the time. Like, you know, you'll tell somebody, I'll have somebody in session, and they'll be saying, oh, yeah, I know that. I knew that. I already knew that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's grand, right? How's that been working, right? Because knowing it and releasing it are two totally different things.
Knowing it and experiencing it are two different things. Like,
exactly.
A lot of people think they know, but just because you've read it and understand it logically does not by any means mean that you know.
No, and it's like trying to explain to somebody dimensionally shifting, leaving the body, how to actually manipulate energy. It's like it's to our best, like you were saying. But some people get it and some people don't, and then maybe they listen to somebody else and they totally get it.
Yeah.
That's that no, and then that no with the capital K.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why I knew that. I get so excited about what's happening too, because I try to put understanding on it, whether it's realistic or not. I don't really want to put any of the too much into it, but it's like Venus, the planet of Venus. If I'm understanding things right, and if I feel it the way it is. Like, Venus vibrates at that level like a hummingbird, right? Like, it's moving faster and it's bigger, and so it's like it vibrates higher. And with it shooting into the planet, like, so when it was in rotation in June, and it like slammed down into the planet, well, we're just now feeling it, and it's like, that, I think, is a lot of the push that people right now are, it's like, it's either going to awaken you, or it's going to make you crazy, right? It's like there's something happening where people are going to shift off the planet, or they're going to awaken. Like, I don't even really want to understand it, but the blasts are so heavy that the density of the body, if they are not vibrating at a certain level, it's like it's not going to handle it. Do you think that's true?
What I've found when I go into extreme energy states, beings that can't handle it either freeze in time or they go to sleep. They don't disperse or disappear.
And so that's and when you say, that's where I think, I guess, like, I'm trying to, and maybe this is just my mind saying this, but like, to me, so like, I see a lot of death. I see that there's going to be there's going to be a lot of death on the planet. And there's all kinds of justifications for that, including the baby boomers and this and that. So I don't want to make it all like, whatever. But it's like the vibration, because like you said, like falling asleep, like that's actually what it is. It's like they have to go to a different realm where the planet isn't going to be vibrating at that level, right? Like,
right.
And there's no judgment in that. That's not they're bad or they're this or they're that.
No.
They're at in evolution.
Well, the human consciousness is so stuck on this idea of one frame being the sum totality of existence. Like, when I retract and I go into my God mind, I become nothing, and then I see every world that I have a life on as like a hexagonal screen, and I can zoom in on it, and I can see my other self there walking around, talking, thinking, doing his thing, thinking he's the original Michael Monk. And when I want to become him, I just put an orb in that screen and hop in his back, and then I am him.
Right.
And we've got all these parallel cells walking around right now. So if in this screen of reality that we call Earth, if we're truly going to take it to this next greater level of compression of energy and understanding of energy and even more intensity of feelings and light than we have now, if there's souls that their sum totality knows that part is not ready for that, then it'll manifest a death experience to take that part out of that screen and into another screen.
Which I don't think, and I think you're exactly right. It's like it's like hitting those steps, right? Like you're not going to go from being on the second step to being on the fifth step unless somehow, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but on an average, I think you have to most people have to do it step at a time. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that this planet is going to be at a place, because it can't continue to go the way that it is. It just can't. Mm-hmm. And so it's like it's got to do the inside out almost. Like it's got to be, and I don't think it's going to be a wipeout. Like everybody's so afraid of things. We may have a time where we may have disconnection of things that we consider necessities so that we can have reminders of who we are. Like creating energy from our being as opposed to sucking it out of the planet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? And I don't want to say that I'm generating my house right now either. I wish I was. I want to be, because I think I can.
Well, you are, but not at the conscious level. Like what I've noticed about how all of this works, back to the God spark or the God within, the source shining outward, is it does literally do everything. It forms the ground you walk on, it forms the air you breathe, forms your house, it forms the sun that shines on you, the stars in the sky. Every single little thing is a projection from the center God consciousness that's within you. Now the mind, the ego mind, perceives reality in that fixed vibrational interpretation that we talked about. So this enables us to all experience reality in a similar enough way to where we have the illusion that we're sharing a universe together. But in reality, each individual being is the universe shining outward. It's just that our universes are so similar that it appears like we're in one together. But if we were sitting together right now on a couch, I would be sitting on my couch and you would be sitting on your couch. You would be creating your couch from your source. I'd be creating my couch from my source. But our idea of the couch is so similar in its location and space and time, so similar that it appears as though we're sitting on the couch together. Now, when you bring that into the realm of the conscious mind, that's when things get, hairy. Like we have a learning curve to do here, because once you connect cleanly with something, it responds to you for the same reason as your hand flexes when you will it, and with just as much potency. I've had a few moments of pure connection where anything's possible. It's whatever you're thinking, feeling, being, it manifests.
It just and that's where. So for me, what I'm like, how practice goes is that when I'm talking about like becoming whatever it is, it's almost like the same consciousness. So like if I want to project something out or I want something to happen, instead of putting in any doubt or any of the 3D reality, like literally somehow projecting out the vibration of what it is that I want without the want, without the need. Does that make sense? Like it's not about, it's like it's already happened instead of it being a lack. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because that's a big kicker for people, right? When they're constantly putting out there, well, I want this or I want that or I need this or I need that. It's telling the universe, it's that projection, the vibration is of want or of need, not it. The vibration.
Which means lack.
Yeah. And so, bam, baby, it's like, what are you going to get? And so all these people, and they're like, well, I just don't understand why I do all these mantras over and over and over and over again, and it just isn't working. Well, it's because the vibration, the vibration doesn't understand your story, right? The vibration just knows vibration. So it's like when you project, and I'll tell you a big kicker for me, and Michael, you'll know what I'm talking about, and other people probably won't, so, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but it's like a few months ago, I went into a space of really needing help. Like I really put out there that I needed someone to come in and help me, right? And it was like I was projecting it out. I was going to pull it in. I really needed help. I was doing all these things, blah, blah, blah. Well, what I ended up pulling in, because I was so needy and so much in want, was somebody who was needier than me and more in want, and it was like we generated off of each other, answering each other's ads in perfect harmony.
And I can say from somebody who's just started into the concept of this, that because sometimes, like Sherry, you get so far into it and you just kind of understand it. So sometimes when you try to put it into words, it's kind of hard. But what I want to say to anybody who's maybe not understanding about the frequency is that what they were saying is when you are feeling that you're lacking, so you need it, that you're putting out the vibration of lack, and therefore will receive the same. So when you're putting out the I need, you're not going to get somebody that you need to help you. You're going to get somebody that needs, that's needy.
Yes, and if you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because here we are again at the atom, projecting out and pulling in. And if you're putting out there, I really want a relationship. I really want to be in love. I mean, what the universe is feeling that feeling of lack, of being in want. And so it's going to answer your ad and say, okay, that's what you want? Is that what you're asking to be in want? Bam, I'll answer it for you.
Yeah.
right? And I use triggers, but maybe it is just a projection of our own being.
You know, and the same thing goes for all these damn conspiracy crap going around. Like, and there's so many people that are supposedly at the conscious level, and yet they indulge in that crap. Do you not believe that belief creates reality? Do you not believe that it's a projection from the inside? It's like at one point you've got to make a choice, and you got to decide that either A, you're the creator of your experience, or B, you're not. And if you're not, then you should just adhere to the rules of the system and not even think about manifestation or anything. And if you decide that you are, then you should not go down any of those thought streams. Like the way I've divided my psyche, experiencing my reality from the inside out, is that the only thing that's real is what I can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. That is the universe. Anything I can't see, hear, taste, touch, and smell in my immediate environment is a possibility. It's not a universe. It's not real. So when I'm on Facebook, when I'm on the telephone, when I get mail in my mailbox, I call all of that the psychic theater. So it's like where technology simulates the fourth dimension and allows us to communicate from our parallel Earth locations. But each location is its own sovereign thing. So when I see these things, it just like has nothing to do with me. When I see these posts on Facebook and stuff, like my reality is awesome. Everywhere I go, I'm met with smiling faces, happy people. Nobody's depressed. There's no chemtrails in my sky, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia. There's not ever a chemtrail in my sky, ever, because I know I've formed my reality. You know, there's no riots, there's no picketing. Like on my Earth, everything's smooth and kosher. So the best thing I can do is reach out to people on their parallel Earths through the psychic theater and teach them energy and how to ground in their own dome and how to anchor in and manage and control their own space. And when we have enough people globally that are doing this, we can actually form a collective consciousness, and the rest of the sleepers are just going to hop on board. They won't have any choice because we'll have formed a group mind at that point that'll be, more powerful than any individual mind.
And see, I get so excited about that too because, I don't, and I know you know this, but it's like I don't fall into any story, right? Like I don't believe the stuff like.
No.
Anyway, so, but I think it's fascinating. I had somebody say something to the effect of how it's like it's come to a time of where people are either going to, it's like people are falling off the wagon. Do you know what I mean? Like there's people like us who are out there teaching it, knowing it, living it, making it happen. Like we're going to put it out there no matter what people say. But there's other people who are going to stand back, right? As soon as the fire gets hot, as soon as there's too much, it's like they're going to stand back. But that doesn't mean that they're out of the game, right? That just means, and it doesn't mean that we have to have judgment on that. It just means that when it all is done and over with, they'll be at the party, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Right?
Yeah, everything's okay.
Yeah, I mean,
okay is a state
okay.
of being, so it always pays to be okay because the moment you're not okay is the moment you're not okay.
That's exactly right. It doesn't really matter, so you might as well just roll with it, right?
So you might as well just be okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that, too, in a way. Like, it makes me laugh because, don't get me wrong, I can get riled up. I got things that are going on in my own life, and especially, and I could go into, like, I think it's energies, and I think there's a lot of different things because I'm very sensitive to a lot of things. And so, but the truth is that in watching and feeling everything that's happening on the planet right now, it really is so much excitement to me. And it's like, even when people are talking about, boy, my tummy is woozy and I have a headache, and, they don't, and these are people that are unconscious. They don't even know what's happening to them, but they're preparing, right? Their body is preparing. They're vibrating at a different level. They're being blasted or whatever you want to call it with what's coming. Mm-hmm. I think.
Okay.
Next, a caller, Bethany.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi there.
Oh, hi. I'm just enjoying this lovely, deep, soulful felt conversation. And you just hit up on a lot of points that I wanted to say earlier, but I got all misconstrued in the talk that went ahead. But, everything that we do, we come from a creational standpoint. That, we are the creator. It's not, it's not Venus and the energies coming in. It's us bringing them in if we want that in. So we're going to ground that into this physical existence.
I think you're right, and I guess that it's for a better. I use that as a grasp of understanding, I guess, because the vibration to me feels the same, right? Like, so when I feel into vibration of like really a high level of love, or I don't even like to put a term on it, but it's just it's a very high vibration. That is what Venus feels like to me. Like they vibrate the same. So it's like, and it seems like that's what's blasting the planet right now. Like, it's almost like anybody that has, like, whatever their biggest issue is in their life, that's what's coming right in their face right now. Like, if they're having, money or relationships or jobs or school, whatever it is, it's being like times 10 to either have the experience, or maybe it's just that it's projecting out so much stronger because of us. I mean, there's got to be something, like, I'm not saying that it's not coming from us, but it's like what's pushing us to vibrate at a higher level where the manifestation is happening so much quicker. You know what I mean?
Well, because then you're talking about operating on a soul level. Everything that you're explaining, if viewed from a soul level, becomes common knowledge. I don't know how to express that when it's, you can view yourself in this body. Well, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's like viewing yourself in the body. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, you can view yourself from this body at this point right now that we're having this conversation, but then you can actually shift your energy and use your other bodies to view what's going on from here, and that just mirrors out, and you get to a point to the center to the core, to where you can view everything that's going on. Yes, and this is a time of right now where we are creating what we want. Right. I mean, we're talking on a soul level now, so we are being pushed to create something new and better. There's something that's actually going to bring out the empowerment that is in all of us to actually shape this world and shift it in the image that we want, that we know the way it should be.
And I think that's what people are considering, like the awakening. I think that there's just going to be more and more and more and more people that it's not like, I mean, I just don't foresee there being some, big ship coming down and handing everybody a
No, that's not going to happen. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, it's like, sorry, excuse me. It's like we really are, like Michael and I were saying, like it is a reversal of the self, right? It's like we've been taking everything in as it was reality, when instead now it's going to be like realizing that we are on the outside and actually that we are the reality of creation, right? It's like connecting in from a different perspective, right?
Yeah, and sometimes those echoes of reality creation are manifested through the physical beings like around us. They help us. They push us along, and it may be at their own sacrifice or vice versa. But ultimately, if you're feeling it so deeply, all is beautiful in what happens. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I have a question about when I'm talking about like fragmentation of our being, what I think happens is I think that the vibration that we hold in each lifetime, because there is no time, right? It's like that vibration is somehow connected into the physical of the reality of our being, right? And it's not just about like, anyway. And so what ends up, so now because whatever reason, and I don't even want to put a definition on it, whatever, the age of karmic debt is now over. And so the way that the vibration is hitting the planet, it used to be, it would snap in, right, through the atmosphere, and it would hit, and then it would bounce, it would come to a certain point in the core, and then it would bounce and be reprojected back out into the universe. That's not happening now. now what it's doing is it's coming in and it's being consumed. It's like, it's literally like, and that's why people have headaches. That's why people are experiencing vertigo, upset stomachs, tiredness, sleeplessness. I mean, you can go down this whole list. It's like it somehow has changed. And so what that's going to do is that's actually going to push forward whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing next. Like, it's not a coincidence that it's happening now. And so as we're projecting and as we're pulling in these fragmentations, and this is what I'm talking about with the cellular somatic of the body, because that's where I think it's held. And it's not on a conscious level necessarily, but it's still projecting out and pulling in, projecting out, pulling in. That's why everything's such a fucked up mess, because it's like people aren't really doing it. They're not like sitting there saying, oh, I want the government to rip us all off, you know? But when we are believing, first of all, that that's what the government does, and secondly, we give them the power to do so, and then, you know, we could go down the whole list, well, that becomes reality, and then everybody in the collective can conspire and then either go either way. They become the hero or the villain, right? It's like it just falls right back into the game, and it's a way to keep people from realizing that they are in creation of their reality, right? Because you can always, well, I can't be control of someone else, right? Go ahead.
Sorry.
So
well,
break free.
Yeah. I don't know. You just went into so many points that I could go down many different avenues if you just want to pick one. That's why it's really important to really, you know, just to get some level of dream recall and try to practice in those states, because then you will slowly, you know, see how you are the creator. You know, because you can be the creator of those lighter realms, you know, like in dream time, you know, a lot easier than you can do it here. So that's a great place to start, you know.
Ooh, Michael, you still there?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, we got two Michaels on.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the other. I meant Michael Monk. Because he knows that's something. Michael, you want to talk about the dream realm a little bit?
Sure. Well, like I was saying before, they're a lighter version of this. And whenever I say that word lighter, I always have to put the word lesser with it, because in the typical New Age consciousness, lighter means superior, and so people are always looking at these lesser aspects of themselves as if they hold the answers. But a person that's well-traveled in the out-of-body realms knows that that's not the case. They're like it's like it works in quantum layers, sort of like the flower of life. So everybody knows how that's formed, with the center and the center, and then you put all the circles around it and around it and around it, and it just builds out into the flower. Well, what the ego self is, or the centralized self crystallized in density like we are, that's the center flower. And all of the light realms are echoes of that in different variations, you know. And what we see in the physical reality is a representation of the multidimensional reality. So when we look up at the stars, you're literally seeing parallel Earths or parallel selves, and they're slightly variant, you know, from this. Like, I've been to worlds where there's extraterrestrial races, but they're all human, you know, they're human-like, with just, you know, like basic differentiations to them. So, go ahead.
So many crap.
Sorry, I mean, I've experienced beings, and because of the vision that I have, I don't see the physical necessarily all the time, but I do see the light, right? The, whatever people want to call it, the core, the Satan, the soul, the whatever it is, that's what I see. And so it's amazing how many races have the almost identical light or vibration as the humanoid, right? I mean, it's almost like what you're saying is so true, because I have actually experienced 2 or 3 recently that are different, and it was almost like they have no density.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like, and that was kind of an interesting experience, because everything is immediately, like, whatever the thought is immediately downloaded. Like, there's nothing can be hidden at any time, because there's no density anywhere. It's like
no delay between thought and experience.
yeah, it's like bam, and so that's but it's also shallow and not in a 3D reality, and so it's very like I think that's how these universes and all these different things are actually being manifested. And again, those beings are another fragmentation or aspect of our own being that's in whatever we call time or past or future or whatever. It's like it's all happening at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the dream realm is awesome. And I'll tell you that's how I, just for people that they're curious about how to start like dimensionally shifting or leaving the body. And I know, Michael, you might have a better way of this, but for me, what I use the dream realm like almost that point of where you fall, like when you're falling asleep, but not like you're still semi-conscious, like you still are hearing what's going on, but you can start to feel your body like being, more open or vacant or whatever. And then that's where I fall out or I sit up or whatever the point is. That's where I come to a place of being able to go where I want.
Mm-hmm.
So, how does anybody else do it?
Usually for me, I wake up inside of a parallel something, and then I just project from there. So once I wake up in another realm, which happens 5 to 10 times every night, then I just shoot off somewhere else. I'll either have the God within me take me places if I don't know where to go, or I'll ground and fall through the ground of whatever area I'm in to punch through another layer if I want to go deep into the core of that world, or if I want to go up. I like to close my eyes and send my whole essence up until I see light pouring back down, which means that myself that went up is shining back down to me, and then I just release and go up into it.
I love that. See, I do that. That's exactly. So that was like probably one of the most dynamic experiences for me ever, like what you just described. But it was like literally at the top of that funnel of light above my head was like this blue, almost, like I don't even know how to describe the coloring because blue just doesn't even do justice, but it was like, that's probably the closest I can come. And when I merged into that light, it was almost like looking down, like you said, not on just myself at this lifetime, but like everything, past, present, future, like laid out in a way like a map almost. Like it was phenomenal. And I didn't stay there for that long. Like I probably was there for about 3 or 4 minutes. And then I started just bawling hysterically because it was like, I really got, like, I love myself. Like, not like I love myself and ego. Like, I love myself. Like, I am up there using this avatar and learning and projecting and doing all of these things from such a place of love and compassion and empathy that if I can stay connected to that, like, I can't even move from there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't always stay connected to there because I'm in the 3D. But it's like, that was, if people can get to that place, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it is.
Well,
it's
that's
like
what we do.
Everything that we want to achieve here, we've already done, up there.
Yeah. Or who knows where, right? Like
who knows where?
I don't want to be. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think about, I probably am going way too far with it, but it's like our mind, we're in the box, and so what are we really like when we're talking about fragmentations and lack of time and excuse me, and this and that? It's like, like what are we really doing? Like, all these different races and all these different things that we again put outside of our being, like that's us, right? Like we're waiting for us to show up, whatever that is, and it's pretty cool, but it's like, if we can pull all that in and really be taking a look from everywhere that we are and all of reality, like, how would things change, man? That would be, like, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to change by the purity of connection of soul. That's how it's going to change. How many individuals can connect purely in soul?
And don't you think, see, this is what I'm trying to get across. This is the whole point of this whole thing, is that if you can clear the body, which if you can manipulate energy and you can understand that, bam, you do it, because that is the way. But there's so many people out there that are just now waking up that if they can do the process that I'm putting out there, they will clear their body and they will be capable of learning what Michael's talking about, how to do the things, how to come into our purpose, how to bring back in our being and start manifesting our reality from a conscious place. But when the body's all screwed up and holding all this emotional baggage or trash, or I don't want to even, like, whatever you want to call it, the darkness, the heaviness, the density, it cannot function properly, and so it's manifesting from those places or filtering out and putting out what we're seeing now. Right? The body has to be clear so that we're projecting out and pulling in from the consciousness directly. And that's what this process does. That's when this whole thing wraps back in. And I know that, like I said, I don't believe that it's the get-all, know-all for everyone. But I know that it works, right? Like there's some things, if you can come in and you have understanding of energy, even the slightest bit, like you have that seed in your body, you'll get it and you'll bam.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, right? Like but if you don't even know what it is, like literally I've talked to people and they're like, to them, like the only type of energy that there is what comes out of a plug. Like they don't have any concept at all, none. So it's like, what do you do with them? And there's a lot. Like it's not a little. It's not like a small amount of the population. It's like huge.
Well, actually, hold on. Yeah. I just want to say, actually, what I do is exactly what you're explaining. Is I go out into the public arena and I try to put a smile on people's faces. And if I can make them smile, then I've made a connection with them.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying?
What were you saying, Michael? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Huh? Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying you can make that connection with a complete stranger, and you can feel his being, even though if that individual isn't aware of what you're doing, that individual will know he's feeling something good in his body, you know, and I can connect with that. Absolutely.
And you can,
so that's
and I think if you do it from a conscious place, and here's this, like I've asked people, that's one of, I mean, I try and project out probably at least a 2 or 3 block radius everywhere I'm at, right? I mean, that's kind of. That's my knowing. That's what I've been doing. I've practiced it enough that I can project out to a point of wherever I want, right?
Well, then that means you are creating your local reality already 3 blocks away from you, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it's fabulous. And I can tell, like, if I live in it, it's fabulous. But the thing is that what I found, again, is that there is still the collective, right? Like, so I'm creating and manifesting my reality, and that's awesome. And like Michael said, like that, we go into these places of where we feel great about everything. But when you take a look around and everybody's not living in it, there's still a piece of us that's not being brought together. And that's where we have to do it, right? Like we have to pull in the trilogy.
Well, what I'm doing, with our organization is we provide demonstrations, where we move the air, we ripple the water, we move objects inside sealed container, change the weather, get it on video, and then people may or may not be skeptical. But if they look at our course, we have a 7-day free trial. You don't even have to risk any money to see if what we're talking about is real. Oh, which, by the way, for all the listeners that would like to check us out, we're at avatarenergymaster.com. So go ahead and check it out. We have a 7-day free trial, tons of video demonstrations. We've got hundreds of students from all around the world, so come see what the hype is about. And Sherry, thanks for having us. Bethany and Tia and Michael, thanks for calling in.
You were so great, Michael. And I hope that people are listening, and I hope that they check you out, because it really is. It's such a great way for people to start having understanding. And thank you so much for showing up. I love hanging out with you.
Yeah, it was great.
And Keisha, thank you so much for the callers. And Bethany, you did a great job. Everybody, good night.
Good night, everybody.